I'm just going to jump into this email from Eric at LSAC telling us about their updated policy on testing limits. Mike, you're always welcome to jump in at any moment. Tell us what you think. This says, Dear Ben, I'm writing to let you know of an update to our policy limiting the number of times a candidate may test. As you know, we established a test-taking limit policy that went into effect with the September 2019 LSAT. The policy was forward-looking only. Any exams taken previously by candidates do not count against their limits. While this policy affects only a very small number of test takers, it is necessary to ensure a fair and equitable testing program and maintain the integrity of the LSAT. I wonder if that's their actual motivation. I have no idea what their actual motivation is, but under the existing policy, starting with the September 2019 test administration, test takers are permitted to take the LSAT 3 times in a single testing year. And by the way, a testing year goes from June 1st to May 31st. So for most people, they can only take the LSAT 3 times. Or maybe 5. The next rule says, look, you can take it at most 5 times within the current and 5 most recent testing periods or previous testing periods. So, I mean, this is LSAC's lawyerly and wordy way of saying for the past 5 years, essentially, or I guess almost 6, you're limited to 5 times. So you're limited to 3 times within the current cycle and 5 times within the last 6 years. So for the vast majority of people, they can never take it more than 5 times. That said, the Flex LSATs, and then they have this other rule. It says a total of 7 times over a lifetime, which again is very rare for the vast majority of people. But when they started administering the Flex tests in, I think it was, did they start that in May? I think they started in May. Those tests, they did not count towards this testing limit. So if someone took it in May and then again in, I can't remember the dates now, but maybe June, and then again in July and then August, none of those Flex tests would have counted towards their limits. So they could get in a lot of tests, and people were making decisions about whether or not to take it based on this, right? They're like, hey, it's not going to count. Might as well just take it, especially since schools generally take the highest score, or I should say essentially always take the highest score. But now LSAC is saying, okay, with the introduction of the LSAT-Flex, to provide a safe and effective mechanism for candidates to earn scores during the COVID-19 emergency. Okay. LSAC made the decision that the May, June, July, and August LSAT-Flex tests do not count towards these limits. That's what we were just talking about. Oh, I got all the test dates right. However, in light of the ongoing COVID-19 situation, we are announcing a change to that policy, and this is all bold. Should the LSAT-Flex be administered after August 2020, which it will be, LSAT-Flex test after the August 2020 administration will count toward LSAT testing limits. Again, this policy change related to LSAT-Flex is forward-looking only. So if you've taken the August LSAT or if you do take the August LSAT or you've taken July or June or May, none of those are going to count towards your testing limit, but the October LSAT, regardless of whether it's Flex or in person, will count towards your limit. That's what they're saying. I mean, actually, now, we were just talking about how they're going to make the October LSAT Flex. This is like basically acknowledging that it's going to be Flex.
Yeah. If they're already looking forward and saying, look, we're counting these going forward. Yeah. They're definitely thinking about that.
Yeah.
Or have made that decision.
I think they have. Yeah. They realize that, but they're just not, I don't know why they're not willing to pull the trigger. But anyway, so
yeah.
Eric, thank you. That is going to be so now,
how long have they had testing limits on the LSAT?
Well, they've actually had it for a really long time. They for the longest time, I'm starting to get like forgetful here, but for some reason in my head there was like you had a lifetime limit of 3 a long time ago. Like you could only take it 3 times, and that was it. And so I remember a lot of, people would take it twice and there'd be this huge anxiety for the third attempt because it's like, okay, this is it. This is your last chance.
Right.
And then they had an about face like 2 years ago, maybe. And they said, hey, no limits whatsoever, which was like, everybody's like, what? Oh my gosh. And so now they could take it. And some people were taking it 7 times. Crazy. I mean, most people weren't, but they're like, hey, schools are going to take the highest score. Why
So,
not take it
okay,
again?
schools were still taking the highest score if you've taken it 7 times.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine an admissions official looking at that and saying like, wow,
Yeah.
can you pull it together and just like wait until you're ready to
Right.
execute, as opposed to just like willy-nilly taking it a bunch of times. So I can imagine that it didn't look great. At the same time, when push comes to shove, the numbers are what matter, because ultimately the school doesn't care. It does care about you as a candidate, but really it cares about how it looks on US News and World Report, and they
Exactly.
only have to report the highest score.
Right.
So if you're a 170 with 7 tests and you have another applicant who's a 168 with 1 test, although the 168 looks like they have their shit together more,
Mm-hmm.
the 170 is going to help them in
Yeah.
a way that the
No,
168 is not. So
yep. No, I agree. It's that number that they can report that matters. So, yeah. Well, also, I mean, if they're putting a limit on the flex, it sounds like they're giving it more legitimacy. They're saying this is, the real deal. We're going to start tagging you for it, just like we do the actual sit down exam.
yeah.
So actually, it could be a good thing in the long run. Colleges will look at it with more respect. I don't know if they're not. I don't know if they care. Like you said, a score is the score. I mean, I don't think they have to report whether or not the score came from the flex or the in-person exam. So,
I don't think they do to the U.S. News and World Report
right.
ranking. They do get notified that it was a flex test. I mean, they would just know that too because of the date that it was administered, but it is indicated as such on everyone's score transcript. So they do know that, but I don't think they have to report that. So yeah, but you're right. I mean, this is probably just another step into the direction of let's make this test online forever, which would
Yeah.
be awesome.
Yep.
Cool.